we spend quite a lot of money on legal fees to make sure beforehand that what we're doing is illegal, and we always make sure it is. So that obviously comforts us quite a bit that we know what we're doing is within the confines of the law.
That would take quite a lot of pressure off when you know that you legally can't get fucked.
Even though them videos do well, they're the ones I hate doing the most, like trend topics, because I feel so anxious to like get it out quicker. And then I feel like I always rush a video because it's not as good as I'd like it to be.
Sure.
You know what I actually love about the video though is that whilst it's like you've kind of hopped on a trend, so to speak, you know how like when, if we're going to take it to like YouTube, you know how the whole YouTube diss track era and everyone was jumping on that kind of thing, and then people who weren't doing it were doing like reaction videos.
Yeah.
So if you were to twist it and be like, I'm actually going to jump on this trend but do something different, that'll probably cause like a big attraction to it.
Yeah.
Whereas instead of doing like a reaction or something like that, it's actually something which people talk about quite a lot within like the echo chamber of social media.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, oh, do people hate Meghan Markle because of the colour of her skin, or do they hate her because of what she's actually doing to the royal family kind of thing? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, our point was never to even take a side between like Meghan and Harry and the royals or whatever. That we never try and like tell people what they should be thinking or preach to people. We just try and create like answer a question in an entertaining way and
let them make their minds up for themselves.
Exactly. Like we never led these royal experts to say anything. We sort of
just let them
gave them questions and they did it to themselves. So like our main thing is we never want to be like, you should like Meghan and Harry or you shouldn't, or you should, support the royal family. We try and stay as impartial as possible and just, except in some occasions when I think it's more necessary, but we mostly try and stay pretty impartial.
I think you were quite politically uninvolved, but by putting that video out, it kind of highlights like the issues that there are.
Sure.
You know, that if you have a lot of stuff which is out online at the moment and people are like, well, it's clear to see that there's an agenda against Harry and Meghan, you know?
It was less about the agenda against Harry and Meghan for us actually, and more about there's a lot of media around this interview. Is all of it accurate reporting? Is this all credible?
That's my point though, that a lot of it isn't, and you can, whilst it wasn't a politically motivated thing, you can really tell that these are people who are supposed to be credible, right? So they've taken a fee and spoken on something which is like they didn't know about, which I think is disgraceful.
What were they like off camera?
It's pretty much the
Tories.
same. Yeah, they were
just Tories.
Because I always find it hilarious, like in that specific video where Archie's like taught them, and you're like at some point just looking down at this. Is that you like trying not to laugh?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Like, how the fuck do you do that sometimes? So when they're just spouting shit, and you know that they're talking absolute shit.
Yeah, I don't know. You just got to clench your.
Do you get really into character? Because me would just be like, "This is really good content. This is really good content." I'd be trying hard to keep it together.
Yeah, you just can't laugh. It's the hardest impulse to control. Like laughter. So you've just got to. I don't know. I guess we've done quite a lot of things where we've been tempted to laugh before. So you've got to just really be able to hold it in.
Obviously, you completely and utterly mudded them, unintentionally or unintentionally. They did it themselves. To be fair, it wasn't even you. Have any of them said anything to you afterwards?
No.
Any emails or anything?
They made public comments, some of them, which you'd have to check.
What did they say?
I don't know exactly. You'd have to look, and then back to us directly, no.
Do you get anxiety after, like, you've done the video and then obviously the response from, obviously you've done, like, Craig David, James Corden, all this. Do you ever, like, get scared of what the actual response could be?
Yeah, we always try and, like, we spend quite a lot of money on legal fees to make sure beforehand that what we're doing is illegal, and we always make sure it is. So that obviously comforts us quite a bit that we know what we're doing is within the confines of the law.
That would take quite a lot of pressure off when you know that you legally can't get fucked.
Yeah, and everyone we get on always signs a release form and everything's done properly. So that does help a bit. But yeah, you still do.
Did you get them to sign a release form?
Oh yeah, of course. So
I remember when you said about the Katie Hopkins one that you got her to sign one and she was already out the door with that trophy before they could even look at it.
Oh yeah, she signed it no problem. She literally went home that night, like she did like a joke as she walked away from us, like raising her trophy at us. So yeah, like being like woo. So yeah,
she's been that trophy. Like there's no way that's
that was one of my favorite comments on that video was I'm just enjoying thinking about Katie Hopkins watching this video, slowly getting up, taking her trophy off the mantelpiece and putting it in the bin.
Do you ever like compare your videos like that? So say this Meghan and Harry one, are you ever trying to be like, right, we need to make this one as good as the Katie one?
No, I think that's like a hard thing to do. And I think the Katie Hopkins video was quite a specific video against someone who is pretty extreme. So I think it's very different. Like, you know, this video obviously was at the expense of these royal experts, but I doubt they're actually very bad people. They just got caught out doing something they shouldn't be doing.
It's like
Katie-
Sam Allardyce as like a football manager.
I love the way you brought that back to football.
Not
Brilliant.
necessarily like a bad guy.
Sam
but
Allardyce.
Is it that interview you're on about with Sam Allardyce?
yeah, when he was sat behind a table and he was just doing dodgy dealings without things.
Yeah,
Like, not
yeah,
a
yeah.
bad guy, but just shouldn't be doing it. Like,
Yeah, and to be honest, like I don't personally get off on like running, like, you know, particularly upsetting
Mugging
people
people.
a lot. Exactly. So we try and not let the videos be entirely about that as much as possible.
There was a like a couple of quotes from that video where obviously, like, I know that the interviews would have been significantly longer.
Yeah.
So you've taken like the moments. And some people, like a skeptic, could probably argue like you could be twisting what they're saying. But when they say something like Ingrid Seward said from start to finish, Meghan was acting, and then just things like
While she's acting.
while she's acting, which
the
is very, very like projection.
Yeah.
It's very, very thing. And then Richard Fitzwilliam saying she was totally sympathetic.
Yeah.
It's like it's such a clear agenda, like where their loyalties do lie.
Yeah, I mean, so we really didn't take anything out of context in this video because we knew that that would completely take away from what we were doing, and that would be really wrong. We could have easily said to them, so imagine Harry says this in the interview, what would you say about that? That wouldn't be impressive to hear because they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to offer their insights into something that's hypothetical. But we literally let them speak as if what they were saying was fact. We never led them into anything except for the Balham Donkey Sanctuary and saying...
I love animals.
and saying that Meghan refused a vaccine. We specifically did those to highlight, like, we wanted to see how far they would go, basically, but those were the only instances where we actually gave them something. In the other instances, they literally did it all by themselves, and it wasn't taken out of context. It wasn't led on. It was...
The sanctuary one was funny.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, her love of animals.
Yeah.
You know, I think we need to look at the broader picture here.
How can you start talking about a specific thing like and her love for animals in an interview you haven't fucking seen yet?
Yeah, that was interesting.
I just find it absurd.
kind of
Secure in the bag, isn't it?
It's secure in the back. Say that again.
I said that was kind of the point of the video, Charlie.
No, of course, I know it's the point of the video, mate, but it's like you watch the video and you're still shocked by it because you're like, you are with your whole chest, like your whole chest professing like you've not only like listened to the interview before, but also you're actually conveying your opinions on it. I was just like,
It's
these
very
people, man.
interesting.